Hey, Dahi. Girls, sorry, I'm just really tired today. Got almost done with the current job that we're working on, that I'm helping people with. Anyways, so we are going to finish our story about King Arthur for the time being. This next story is the death of King Arthur. So, soon after the departure of Sir Lancelot from Britain, King Arthur had to lead his army into France, leaving his nephew Mordred to rule while he was gone. But Mordred was an evil and ambitious man. And while King Arthur was overseas, he forged a letter reporting Arthur's death in battle. Thereupon he summoned all the lords together and made them choose him king. He was crowned at Canterbury, and then withdrew to Camelot, where he announced his intentions of taking Guinevere as his queen. But Guinevere managed to escape to London, hiding there in the tower, which Mordred could not capture, no matter how hard he tried. "I would rather kill myself than be married to you," she told him. Then came word that King Arthur was coming home with a great army to be avenged upon Sir Mordred. Can't blame him for being mad. In the meantime, Mordred too had gathered a vast host about him. Although Arthur had been a good and just king, bringing peace and order, many now quickly forgot his virtues. Mordred spread evil rumors claiming that Arthur brought war and strife, while he, Mordred, would bring peace and plenty to the realm. How fickle people are, believing false tongues so readily rather than their own eyes and minds. He who was the noblest king of all, the lord of the greatest fellowship of knights, to whom all England owed her glory, was now so easily cast out. No sooner had Arthur been away for several months than many turned to Sir Mordred and held him king, pledging him support. So when he made for Dover to meet King Arthur, he did not lack for fighting men. As Arthur arrived with his great flotilla of ships and galleys, there was Sir Mordred's army waiting for him on the shore, and even before Arthur could step on dry land, Mordred launched great boats and small, full of men-at-arms. There was much slaughter of gentle knights on both sides, but King Arthur was so brave and daring that no host of knights could stop him landing, and he gained the shore at last with the most of his courageous knights, putting Sir Mordred and his men to flight. When the battle was done, King Arthur let folk bury their dead. It was then that noble Sir Gawain was found lying on the shore, more dead than alive, an arrow shaft between his ribs. How King Arthur wept as he held him in his arms. "Oh, Sir Gawain, my sister's son," King Arthur cried, "here now you lie, my most faithful of knights, you and Lancelot, I loved best of all. Now I have lost you both, and the light of hope has dulled within my eyes." "Dear King Arthur," murmured Gawain, "my death is near. I know that well. Had Sir Lancelot been with us, this unhappy war would not have been, for Mordred would not have dared take up arms against him. I pray you, dear uncle, give me pen and ink, that I may write a last note to Sir Lancelot." When all was ready, Gawain sat up weakly and wrote these words: "To Sir Lancelot, flower of all noble knights, I, Sir Gawain, sister's son unto the noble Arthur, send you my dying words. I beseech you to turn again to this fair realm and save our noble king who made you knight. For Arthur is betrayed by the false traitor Mordred, he who had himself crowned king and would even have wed Queen Guinevere had she not taken refuge in the Tower of London. Forgive me, dear Lancelot, for my part in your exile, as I forgive you the wrongs that you have caused. Accept these words, for they are written with my heart's warm blood. I beg you to offer up a prayer for my soul. Farewell forever, Gawain. As he finished, Sir Gawain and King Arthur wept together. Then, at the hour of noon, Sir Gawain yielded up his soul, and he was buried at a chapel within Dover Castle. At the news of King Arthur's victory over Mordred, many men flocked to his standard. Sir Mordred's hosts mainly came from Kent, Sussex, Surrey, Essex, Suffolk, and Norfolk. There were many who joined him out of duty to Sir Lancelot. King Arthur, meanwhile, drew much of his support from the southwest, beyond Salisbury. And it was there, to the west of Salisbury, that the last decisive battle between the two armies was to be fought upon the Monday after Trinity. King Arthur could hardly wait to take revenge upon his treacherous foe. As the eve of battle came, Arthur had the strongest dream. Sir Gawain appeared before him in a vision and said, I come to warn you of chill death approaching if you fight tomorrow against Sir Mordred, as you have agreed. Doubt not that you will die with the best part of your people on both sides. Then the realm of Logres will fall. But that can be averted. Make a truce for 1 month hence. By then Sir Lancelot will be here with his knights to join you and slay Sir Mordred. Thus our fair realm can be preserved. And then Sir Gawain vanished just as suddenly as he had come. Upon waking, Sir Arthur straightway called Sir Lucan and Sir Belvedere with 2 bishops. He told them of his dream and commanded them as follows. Make a treaty for 1 month with Sir Mordred. Offer him lands and trophies as you think fit. At all cost, we must sign the month-long treaty until Sir Lancelot arrives. Forthwith his envoys departed and came to Sir Mordred, encamped with an enormous host upon Salisbury Plain. For long they bargained, and at last Mordred consented to take Cornwall and Kent right away, and all of England after Arthur's death. The latter, he schemed, would not be long. To seal the truce, a meeting was arranged between Sir Mordred and King Arthur midway between both armies. Thus, on the Monday after Trinity, 2 parties of 14 men rode forth from both armies to sign the treaty. Before departing, King Arthur had warned his men to start the battle should they see any sign of treachery on Mordred's part, and Sir Mordred did the same. If you see any man draw a sword, he said, come quickly and slay them all. I do not trust this treaty, and suspect my uncle is eager to take revenge on me. So they met at the appointed place and time, reached agreement presently, called for wine to toast the truce, and were about to return in peace when a tragic accident occurred. An adder crawled out of the heath bush and stung a nearby knight upon the foot. Naturally, without thinking of harm to others, the knight drew his sword and killed the snake. But the moment both armies saw the sword drawn, they gave a shout, blew trumpets and horns, and prepared to charge. As Arthur took to his horse to rejoin his army, he cried out bitterly, Alas! England will forever regret this unhappy day. And truly, never was there seen a sadder and crueler battle in any Christian land. There was rushing and riding, thrusting and striking, and many a fatal wound was given, many a deadly strokes received. King Arthur was ever in the thick of the fighting, charging time and again into Sir Mordred's rank. heedless of the danger to himself, and acting as nobly as ever a king in battle did. Despite his wounds, he did not flinch from inspiring his men by example. Thus the battle raged all day, no night giving ground till late upon the cold bare earth. By dusk at last 100,000 men lay dead or dying upon the battlefield. And King Arthur wept in pity as he saw so many of his people slain. As he searched about him, he saw 2 only of his noble knights left alive, Sir Lucan and his brother Sir Belvedere, and they were so sorely wounded. "O God!" he cried, "where are all my gallant knights? Alas, that ever I should see this dreadful day! Now I know well the end is near. How I wish to God that I could find that traitor Sir Mordred, who had caused this carnage." Suddenly, as he scanned the field of battle, King Arthur espied Sir Mordred, leaning on his sword amidst a pile of dead. "Give me my lance," said Arthur to Sir Lucan, "for yonder I see the traitor who has brought this woe upon us all." "Sire, let him be," said Lucan, "for he is more miserable alive than dead. Good Lord, remember well your last night's dream, and what the spirit of Sir Gawain told you. In his great goodness, God has so far kept you safe. Therefore, for his sake, let Sir Mordred be. Ye have won a famous victory, and we 3 remain alive, while Mordred stands alone. If you leave off now, this wicked day of destiny is safely past." But Arthur was blinded by fury at the slaughter of his knights. "Whether I die or not, I shall be revenged," he cried, "and I shall never have a better chance than now while he's alone." "Then God speed you well," said Belvedere. The king took his lance in both hands and ran towards Sir Gawain, crying, "Traitor! Now has your death day come." When Sir Mordred heard the shout, he ran at Arthur with his sword ready in his hand, but Arthur struck him beneath his shield and ran him through so that the lance came out a full yard the other side. The moment Mordred felt death's wound, he threw himself forward up to the hilt of King Arthur's lance, and, as he fell, brought his sword down hard on Arthur's head, so that it pierced the king's helmet and his head beneath. Thereupon Mordred fell dead upon the ground, and Arthur upon him. At once Sir Lucan and Sir Belvedere ran to Arthur and raised him up, carrying him to a little chapel near a lake. No sooner had they gained shelter than more groans and shouts were heard coming from the battlefield. As they looked on in horror, they saw scavengers come to rob the slain, and whoever was not completely dead, the robbers killed. When the 2 knights saw that, they knew King Arthur was in peril should the robbers find him, so they prepared to take him to the nearest town. Sir Lucan took hold of Arthur's shoulders, Sir Belvedere his legs, and they began to carry him away. But they had hardly gone 3 paces when, in the effort, Sir Lucan's wounds opened wide and his guts spilled out. In a moment the gallant knight was dead. "Alas!" Arthur cried, "it is the saddest sight, that such a noble duke should die for my sake. He was more in need of help than me. God have mercy on his soul." I mean, the fact that King Arthur can still talk after having a sword smashed into his head is very impressive. So, meanwhile, Sir Belvedere knelt beside his brother and wept. By and by, King Arthur gently said to him, "Now leave this mourning, for it is of no avail. My time passes fast. Take my good sword Excalibur to yonder waterside, and cast it far into the lake. Then return and tell me what you see." "My lord," said Belvedere, It shall be done at once. So Belvedere departed, and on the way looked admiringly at the noble blade, its hilt glittering with precious gems. And he thought to himself, no good will come out of it if I throw this rich sword into the water. It will be lost forever. So he hid Excalibur beneath the tree and hastened back to King Arthur, saying that he had carried out his order. "And what did you see?" asked the king. "Sire," he said, "I saw nothing but waves upon the water." "That is untruly said," the king replied. "Therefore go quickly again and do my bidding. If I am at all dear to you, spare not the sword and cast it in." So Sir Belvedere returned once more to the lake with the sword. Yet again he thought it a sin and shame to cast away that noble blade, and he hid it beneath the gorse bush, returning to King Arthur, and swearing that he had done it. "What did you witness there?" "Sire," he said, "I saw nothing but the waters lapping." "Oh, false traitor!" cried King Arthur. "Now you have betrayed me twice. Who would have thought that you, a noble knight, who had served me loyally, would now betray me on my deathbed? Now go again, quickly, for your delaying puts me in danger of my life. Already I feel the chill of death upon me." So Belvedere was greatly ashamed. He took up the sword and ran with it to the lakeside. There he swung it by the handle above his head and threw it as far as he could. And as it was flying through the air, there came an arm and hand out of the water to catch the sword by the hilt. 3 times that white-clad arm brandished the sword above the lake, and then vanished with it below the waves with scarcely a ripple. When Sir Belvedere came to the king again and told him what he'd seen, King Arthur thanked him and said, "Now help me from here, for I fear I have tarried over long." Taking the king upon his back, Belvedere carried him down to the lake, and as they reached the waterside, a black barge appeared out of the mist, bearing 3 queens wearing crowns. All began sobbing piteously when they saw King Arthur. "Place me in the barge, I pray you," said King Arthur to Belvedere. As he did so gently, the 3 queens received the king with great tenderness. "Oh, dear brother," they wept, "why did you tarry so long before you came here? Alas, this wound in your head has already caught much cold." As the barge moved slowly from the shore, Sir Belvedere cried out, "My Lord Arthur, what shall become of me? And what of you?" "Comfort yourself," said the king, "and do as best you can. As for me, I go now into the Vale of Avalon, to be healed of my grievous wounds. Should you hear no more of me, pray for my soul and bear the word of those knights left alive. I shall come again when Britain needs me most." Slowly the barge moved out of sight into the mist, and Sir Belvedere could hear the ladies weeping so bitterly it broke one's heart to listen. When Queen Guinevere learned of the fate of King Arthur and all of the noble knights, she left the Tower of London, 5 ladies with her, and went to Almesbury to a convent. There she donned black robes and became a nun, each day making a deep penance as ever a sinful soul has done. She passed the days in prayer, fasting and giving alms. No one could bring her any comfort in her bitter misery. Meanwhile, when Sir Launcelot received Gawain's letter and learned that Sir Mordred had done battle with Arthur, and that he had tried to wed Guinevere, he sailed at once for Britain. He had come too late. "Alas, Sir Launcelot," said Sir Launcelot to the men of Kent, "these are the saddest tidings of my life. Lead me now to Sir Gawain's tomb." Thus he was taken to Dover Castle, and shown the tomb of his dearest friend. For 2 days and nights he lay upon the tomb, weeping and praying reverently for Sir Gawain's soul. Then on the 3rd day he summoned all his dukes and earls, barons and knights, telling them, "My fair lords, I thank all of you who have come with me, but we came come too late, and that I shall repent for so long as I shall live. Wait for me here, while I go alone to seek my lady Guinevere, for I hear that she now lies ill. If I do not return in 15 days, take your ships, and return the way we came. That is my last command." And so saying, Sir Launcelot rode into the west, and there sought the Queen for several days, until at last he came to a convent at Almesbury, and found Guinevere walking in a cloister. As soon as she beheld Sir Launcelot, she fainted, and was carried unconscious to the convent hall. When she awoke, she told the other nuns, "You may wonder, dear sister, why I am so ill. It is because of yonder knight who has come to seek me. It is my fault and his that this war had been fought. We had caused the death of the noblest knights in all the world, and it is because of our misdeeds that my noble husband was slain." When Sir Launcelot was brought before her, she murmured, "Dear Sir Launcelot, I beseech you, for all the love that ever was between us, never more look upon my face. I command you, for the love of God, leave me forever, and turn again to your castle overseas. For as well as I have loved you, my heart will not permit me to see you more. It is through you and me that the flower of Christendom is dead. Therefore, dear Launcelot, go to your realm and take a wife. Live well with her in joy and peace. All I ask is that now and then you remember me and pray for my soul, so that I may be forgiven." "No, sweet madam," said Sir Launcelot. "That I shall never do. I shall not leave Britain, nor wed a lady. I shall never be so false to you as to betray my vow. That same path you have taken I shall follow too, and I shall spend my days in prayers for you and for myself. Therefore, madam, I beg you, kiss me for the last time." But Guinevere refused to break her vow. As they parted, there never was a man or woman so hard-hearted as would not have wept to see the pain and sorrow between them, for there was lamentation as if they had been struck by spears. Sir Launcelot rode all that day and night through a dark, dense forest, so that none should share his grief or see his tears. And he lived alone as a hermit within a chapel in the neighborhood of Glastonbury. One night, some 12 months later, there came a vision to him whereby he was summoned in remission of his sins to hasten back to Almesbury on foot. "By the time you get there," the spirit said, "you'll find Queen Guinevere dead." Without more ado, Launcelot hurried on foot from Glastonbury to Almesbury, some 30 miles. He arrived within 2 days, weak and weary from his journey, and when he entered the convent he found that Guinevere had died but half an hour past. The sisters told him that just before she died she had left a message for him. "Tell Sir Launcelot to come as fast as he may to fetch my corpse, and let him bury me in the chapel beside the lake where my husband Arthur was last seen on this earth." And then the nuns told Launcelot Guinevere had said, so that all might hear, "I beseech Almighty God that I may not live to see Sir Launcelot again with my earthly eyes." That was her constant prayer, the sister said, for 2 days and nights before she died. As Sir Launcelot gazed upon her face, fair in repose, he did not weep, just sighed. After a moment's silence, He ordered an open coffin to be prepared for her, and placed upon a horse-drawn carriage. Then, with 100 torches burning around her, he led the procession, singing hymns and saying prayers, all the way to Salisbury. And when they came to the chapel by the lake, he had her body wrapped 30 times in wax cloth from Rennes. Then she was laid to rest in a lead coffin with it in a marble tomb. When everyone had gone, Sir Lancelot lay still upon the ground for several days, then made his way back to the hermitage, where he never after ate or drank. He pined away, and his fit flesh shriveled till none would recognize him. Day and night he prayed, sometimes slumbering in fitful sleep, and dreaming ever that he was lying upon the tomb of Queen Guinevere. Though many came to comfort him, he seemed not to hear or see them. Within 10 days he fell into a troubled sleep, waking only to instruct Sir Bors to take his body to the castle of Joyous Gard, and then he died. When they found him dead, his followers were much surprised, for rarely had they seen him so composed. Sir Lancelot, in dying, had a peaceful smile upon his face. There was much weeping and mourning at Sir Lancelot's death, the greatest grief that men had felt. Sir Bors and the few remaining knights took his body to the castle of Joyous Gard, where he was buried with great devotion, and upon his tomb were inscribed these words: "Here lies Sir Lancelot, the bravest of all the Christian knights." Here is the end to the legend of King Arthur, Queen Guinevere, Sir Lancelot, and all the knights of the Round Table. I pray you all, gentlemen and gentlewomen, who read this book of Arthur, to heed this epilogue. In many places it is said that King Arthur is not dead, but is living still in some hidden cave, and it is said that he shall come again when Britain is in peril. I will not swear that this is so, rather would I say that he had taken on another life. But there are those who say that they have seen a rock beneath the lake at Avalon, on which is written these words: "Here lies Arthur, the once and future king." Alright, so that is the end of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. I hope you enjoyed it. There was actually quite a few stories in there that I personally either didn't remember or cannot recall ever hearing. But that being said, I hope you enjoyed it. Now, that last story, there was a couple of things that I wanted to highlight as life lessons, for lack of better terms. One is, simply put, that greed is not only sinful, but it can be very destroying. The constant search for power, the want for more. Even nowadays, you have people who have these real nice houses, real nice cars, but they spend day in and day out working just to try to pay off so that they can have these nice things. One of the biggest things, though, that I wanted to highlight in the story about the death of King Arthur is that it is very easy for people to forget the goodness that one does. And one mistake, or even the rumor of mistakes or mishandling of something, can taint someone's life. And, well, not just their life. It can taint their honor and how everyone perceives that individual. So it is very important to try to keep your word, because the moment you fail to, that's what you'll be remembered for. People always find it easier to believe the negative in someone, and it just takes that one moment of belief that can forever taint someone's opinion of anyone. It's one of the things I've tried teaching your sisters, and one of the things I hope you and everyone else take to heart, is that one should always try to keep their word. Because at the end of the day, your word, your honor, is all you have. It's all you can be remembered by. For those who are dishonest, who steal, lie, cheat, swindle, grift, that's what they get remembered for. Doesn't matter if they spend the rest of their life trying to atone. But the rest of their life, there will be constant reminders of their failing. Now keep in mind, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone fails at one point in time. And that's okay. We learn from our failure. We become better people so long as we learn from our mistakes and we do not repeat them. So, for everyone else, for everyone out there, for you, Dahi, girls, just remember, everyone's going to fall short. No one is perfect. But you have to do your best to try to be the best you can every single day. Just constantly work to make yourself better. Try to lift those up around you. Help those who need help when you can. That's all I gotta say. Dahi, I miss you, son, and it's been a hard road. All you have known is the hospital, but hopefully soon you can come home. I love you, son. Everyone else, I hope you enjoyed the story and hearing the end of King Arthur's tale. Thank you for watching. Bye.